is probably going to be on his hands again for this series.
Yeah, more than likely we go down into the bot lane there, and then maybe Jace will go into the mid lane for sure. But again, I think the Jace is a good pick here because sometimes you do see Jace go up into the Baron lane. Not that we've seen recently, but from historically, we've seen him go up to the Baron lane or even into the jungle, but they have the Vi for the jungle this time around. So it's going to be really interesting to see Vi finally onto the Rift as well, because she was denied so many times yesterday and today. But we're going for that Jarvan and Galio combo once more. If you get denied the Camille synergy, you go for the Jarvan. So locking down one of these unsuspected victims, more so going to be the likes of like the Jace or the Orianna, because we know that Vi can just vault break out of there. It would make little sense to go and lock down the Vi, right?
Yeah, again, the big thing is that Jarvan is not really a first pick champion, because you can't really first pick it, because then the enemy team could just pick like 5 champions that all have dashes, right?
Yeah.
And then Jarvan becomes pretty useless. So you really have to kind of see what the enemy team comp is looking like and then play around what you're looking at. So it's a really nice pick here overall, as you mentioned, for the Orianna specifically, to try and zone them out, to try and, try and stop any of that engage. But yeah, overall it's pretty nice.
Yeah, pretty nice, and that's get paired with the Akali as well. So we could see the Akali in the mid lane. It could go up into the Baron lane as well. It is Jax that is going to be locked in for the Baron lane of the side of Jobcenter. And potentially even the Mokai, just to rub it in my face that I've kind of pointed out that Nabil loves his Nautilus, right? He's going to go for potential Mokai here, which makes sense again, because again, AP damage, right?
Yeah, he's like, oh, set.
Spicing it up a bit. No, yeah,
he
he's
was
like
teasing us.
That
That
like,
would have been one hell of a throwback. That'd been a hell of a throwback. I mean, I don't remember the last time I saw Nabil playing set. Vayne?
Ooh, interesting. Very interesting.
Oh, I do. I don't know if I really like the Vayne, to be honest with you. I mean, the Vayne can be pretty good if you have like the Morgana to help you and to back you up with the Black Shield, but my god, I do not like the Vayne against like Jax, Vi, and Jace. And I mean, Vayne in general is just one of the worst really ADCs right now. I mean, after the attack speed got nerfed, I mean, your base AD also got nerfed. So yeah, it's really difficult to actually get going with Vayne, because you need to have a decent early game. You need to get as much farm as possible to get, I mean, you need at least 3 or 4 items with Vayne. So I just don't like the early game here for Mighty Capybaras.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, she has the roll in, she can roll out as well. So whether they're going to try and pair it with a Galio to kind of try and bait the team into the team fight with the Vayne, roll her in, and then try and roll back out, then obviously go in with a grand entrance could be a potential. But there is a lot of mobility on the side of Almighty Capybaras. But I do have to say as well, there's quite a bit of mobility on the side of Jobcenter. So you've got the leap from Jax, you've got Vi with the Vault Breaker. Obviously, if you put down the gate, the Hextech gate for Jace, he gets the movement speed increase as well. So yeah, it's going to be, I feel like there's predictably going to be a lot of brawls between these two teams.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's going to be a lot of brawls, especially in the top side. I think this Kali matchups could be quite interesting, but like their potential. But going from last week's Rift Legends battle straight to the Showdown the week after, I mean, the skill set of the players and the upward in terms of like play and how well that these players are going to be able to perform in this in these games, like the difference in you have to do to try and get leveled up so quickly and get to that point of the game is extremely well played here by Almighty Capybaras. But we are getting ready for game number 1, and it is timing on the Vayne. So we have mid lane Vayne this game. Like, what the hell is going on?
Mid lane Vayne, I mean, he's just going along the same, he's just playing along with this unpredictability, right? He's like, you know what, let's keep them guessing, let's keep them on their toes. But just to going back on what you were saying there about these teams and the abilities of Almighty Capybaras to bounce back. There's even players on their team that are playing in 2 tournaments at not the same time, but in the same day. So again,
2 of them, same time.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. They're playing one tournament on their feet and then one tournament on their hands.
That's hilarious. But yeah, they were playing a tournament earlier today as well, I assume. I know they were playing yesterday, but I'm not too sure how well they did in the tournament. I didn't actually know too much about the tournament until
Me neither.
Cold Star was mentioning it to me yesterday. So it's nice to see that there's some other tournaments around as well. Obviously, some of these players still involved with them tournaments. So sometimes it's good for players. You know, sometimes they can use that as a little bit of a warm-up. But the flash forward here, and looks like Jax is going to be able to get the first blood. Is he with the movement speed? He is. The movement speed is enough. The lamppost, I should say, comes on down and secures first blood.
The lamppost. I can't get over it being a lamppost. It feels like it should
brilliant.
be. So it should be something that's more majestic than a lamppost. I feel kind of like calling a horse a unicorn. Same kind of thing. But
I mean, that's why anyway, he says, imagine if he had a real weapon, hey?
Yeah, but it's not like imagine if I didn't have this lamppost, is it? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, a real weapon is definitely a huge difference as well as, oh no, the Vayne is completely caught in mid lane. 2 kills already. The international job center, and this is the difficulty when you're playing Vayne. You're trying to play a Vayne mid, but hey, Maokai can just flash on you, use twisted advance, and hey, guess what, you're dead. Your champion sucks. What can you do?
No. In mid lane Vayne, it doesn't make as much sense as even bot lane Vayne. Obviously you have a bigger wall that you can obviously push them onto to get the CC onto, whereas in the mid lane it's a lot more scarce unless you try to play them into the river.
I mean, I wouldn't actually mind, like, the weird thing with competitive, right, is that mid lane is like a 2 versus 2, which Vayne doesn't really want. Vayne kind of wants this isolated 1 versus 1 matchup to try and get an advantage and just to make sure that she can farm and scale into the mid and late game. The problem is that she's playing mid lane this game, so she's in a 2 versus 2. So she could get caught by, like, the Jace and also the Maokai burst damage.
Yep.
And then you're pretty much going to die. I would have much preferred if the Morgana was in mid lane this game and the Vayne was down in bot lane and like solo. Because normally you see like Vayne going in top lane in solo queue. That's just because you get the isolated 1 versus 1 and you're not put under as much threat.
Yeah, you're not kind of in the eye of the beholder, which is the jungler trying to gank your lane, or even the mid lanes trying to rotate up to you whilst you're in the Baron lane. But like you say, if this was Baguettes, I feel like they would have been rotated left, right, and center right at this point with these matchups. So they've got, oh right, okay, Vayne's not working in the mid lane. Let's take it down into the bot lane, and then Morgana would go into the mid, and then they'd go back like a few seconds after that, and then switch up all the way to the Baron lane. So maybe they're just trying to stick to it and maybe trying to make this work. I mean, it is timing, right? So timing played fantastically on the Ezreal yesterday, so I have faith in this pick. Maybe it's not something that would normally work traditionally, but Hans on the other end on the Akali may get caught out for a second time. Yes, the Vi coming in as well with the ultimate, claims Akali down. It is the grand entrance that's going to claim onto nobody, not a single knockup. And they're going back in. A lot of damage coming from the side of the job center, leaving Aces jobless.
I mean, Aces are just completely, Almighty Capybara is just completely on the back foot right now. This international job center, the ones that are playing absolutely huge in this game. They're doing so well at just capitalizing on these advantages that they're getting across the map. They're out rotating at the moment around the map. They're making sure that they can get to places a lot quicker than Almighty Capybaras. The problem is, Vayne is stuck mid lane. Vayne is just stuck mid lane. If Vayne rotates, she's dead. She's stuck mid lane. So that means that Jace also has, Jace also has the pushing power mid. So Jace can push down the mid lane tower. Vayne is stuck mid lane, just farming underneath the tower. And that means that International Job Center are allowed to rotate around the map, have these numbers advantages, and take advantages across the map. They can just completely ignore the Vayne in the mid lane. And this is, again, another one of the downsides of Vayne. You have 0 wave clear, so you have no way of rotating and help your team around the map.
Yeah, I think not only that as well, we kind of see that there is no kills on the side of Aces, and then we see that Jax is ahead in his lane alone, right? By about like 1.1k gold. They actually able to shut down that Gorilla Hextech turret as well, so actually didn't make much damage onto that mid lane turret, but may get caught out. It is the Vi landing the hit is going to be Morgana, keeping the Vi in place and taking the first blood for Aces going into the 6-minute mark.
Yeah, really nice there. Really nice catch onto the Vi. This is exactly what they're looking for. If they can land a Dark Binding, if they can land the Jarvan Ultimate, then they do have the great single target damage thanks to the Akali as well as the Vayne to try and shut down that champion as quick as possible. But it's very difficult to get in these scenarios where you're going to be this far ahead. Speaking of which, Jax is going to be a bit caught in this bottom side of the map. He's going to use a counter strike to jump straight back in onto the Vayne. She just needed one more auto attack. The barrier's going to bait it as well. Oh, the barrier in the end baits it, but Jarvan survives on 1 HP. Oh no, I mean the Vi's still going in to try and get more and more kills. The Morgana is there to save the day with the black shield. But again, we've seen it time and time again today. The black shield, the barriers have been so effective. The solo kill in the mid lane though for the Akali is probably going to die to the minions. The cannon minion, no, he survives for now. He's going to try and dash over the wall and try and survive, but no, the Jace is here. Got to try and execute. Oh, the shot blast acceleration gate. Meanwhile, the Vayne dies in the bot lane at the same time. So again, is International Jobcenter coming out on top?
Yeah, I think what the whole point there of Harm was trying to get the turret to kill him, so it actually wouldn't class as a kill towards International Jobcenter, but then Fine God was just like, hold my beer, lads, let's get this gate down, let's get this snipe damage on, at least claim a little bit of gold to ourselves, and a nice play by the side of Jobcenter. But like you said there, Vayne got taken down as well into the bot lane, so that puts Jobcenter up by 4 kills, and again, 4k gold difference already, almost 8 minutes in. They're seeming pretty unstoppable right now. There's a lot more brawls going on and a little bit more favor going on for the side of Almighty Capybaras. They're not looking as lost like deer in the headlights as they were in the middle beginning part of the game, but they're definitely coming back with a bit of fight, but I feel like it might just be a little bit too late for them as we see them take another T1.
Yeah, I mean, they need another 20 minutes for this Vayne to scale, and then maybe they'll win the game. But I mean, that's all that they need. They just need this Vayne to scale and get items, but they need to wait at least another 10-15 minutes for this Vayne. I mean, this I just don't see any use of this Vayne at all in this game. I mean, we'll have to see when it gets to the late game, because at some point this game is going to go all the way into the late game unless they can try and close out this game sooner. But it looks like the team are just rotating towards the Vayne at the moment. The Jax wasn't able to spot the Vayne in the bush, but they're going to go in on the Galio.
Yep, there it is. The Vi ultimate going straight in onto Carlos, and they claim the kill once more. They don't have any minions to try and push the T2, so a recall is probably looking like their best point of call now for the side of Jobcenter. Go back and get a few items. We're kind of seeing the second item being built here onto Vi. We have the Trinity Force. We have the anti-health item coming in for Jax, the Divine Sunder, to try and work out and destroy the Galio, which it's already proven evidence to, as well as the Jarvan. So just keeping that Jax nice and fed, and it's going to be Morgana potentially getting caught out here. The CC does save a life, and the grand entrance coming through from Galio deters Jobcenter for going in.
Exactly that. That's a great thing about Galio, is that every single time the engage comes on through, Galio can just use the ultimate to stop any of the engage coming on through. You can see the Galio might get a little bit caught out himself, though, unfortunately. It's going to use the taunt to survive, but the killing spree for Snorlax is going to shut down that Galio. The Akali's going to try and live, has to use the flash to get away. The Black Shield stops the counter-strike in the end, but it's advantage again for International Jobcenter, and this is looking very clean for this roster.
Very clean for them, but we do see that Tyman's trying to get this T1 down into the bot lane. He's going to get a bit of extra gold there, 215 gold into his pocket. He has the Terminus, so he's probably going to be able to build something a little bit more, maybe closer to the T2 item, going into his second fully built item. But like you were saying there, Jobcenters looking pretty strong in this one for now.
Oh, God. That was a good one. That was a good one. I was trying to think of a follow-up from that, but I couldn't think of one.
You couldn't think of it. Maybe you just do some like sound effects like you do with the mimics. Beep, boop, beep, boop. There you go. People will understand in the chat. It's like, yeah, he doesn't know what to say. But
it's like I've totally malfunctioned. It's just like, oh, beep, boop, beep, boop.
My brain felt like that after that last series, so I don't blame you one bit. But hey, Ace is coming back a little bit. They're able to claim a little bit more of gold for these T1s as well. So getting back in the race, saddling back up, but they are still sadly behind by about 4k gold. in your personal opinion, what can Aces do to try and bring this back into their favor?
I mean, they just need to funnel as much gold onto this Vayne as possible. The Vayne is the real late game carry for this comp. You can see that Vayne is just walking to every single side lane, taking as much farm as possible. She has the most gold at the moment of the team, nearly by 1,000 gold. She has 2 items completed. So in my opinion, it's all down like Almighty Capybaras needs to slow this game down. They need to make sure that they don't get caught out by any sort of engages like this. Akali at the moment in the bot lane might get a little bit caught out, or maybe they might even look for an engage themselves. No, but again, Almighty Capybaras slow the game get down, give Vayne more farm. The more farm that you give Vayne, the more possibility that she can scale and get to these 3 items that she needs.
Oh, Hans in that. I mean, Jax wasn't even aware that she was in that brush, so she kind of gave herself away, giving up the pony. But there is the grand entrance from the Galio as well. They do actually fall to Jash there, getting the kill onto Galio. And maybe even Shin tries to lock down the Orianna, but saved by the Vi. Getting a double kill for Jash there on the Orianna. And it's not going to be just over. It's only Vayne running out. That is a 4-0 trade to Jobcenter.
6,000 gold lead now. It looks like the Baron is on the cards here for International Jobcenter. They can't shut down this Orianna. Jash is so fed right now and just doing so much damage that he can just stay back. He can play passive. He has infinite mana as well, so he's shielding his teammates. He's doing a bunch of damage. The shockwave was huge onto the Akali as well, so overall it was absolutely great. But oh no, Vayne might be a little bit caught out here. Can Vayne win the 1v1 against the Jack? Does use a condemn against the wall. But Carlos misses the jump onto the Vayne, isn't able to get into range, but that does not matter. The Baron goes in favor of International Jobcenter, and they can try and siege to the base.
Yeah, the crazy thing was just before that pop-off for Jash came around there, I was about to say, Jash on the Orianna is actually not performing too well in terms of, like, early game damage, trying to claim some kills for his team and stuff like that, but then he turns around and gets a double kill. I'm like, yeah, I'll shut up now. So, fair play to Jash there, actually starting to bring the Orianna online. Obviously has the Ludens going into the Leandres as well, so a lot of damage coming over to the Orianna, and this is going to just implement and help the T-Hex try and push this mid lane.
As I forget to update my title, that this is the grand final. The Vayne actually gets a shutdown. Okay, that's a lot of gold onto the Vayne. Trying to kite around. Uses a QSS actually to stop the Vi ultimate to come through. And the Vayne is staying alive. The timing of the QSS there to stop the crowd control from the Vi was so smart from timing. And this is a player that performed incredibly well on the Ezreal, went 17-0 on the Ezreal yesterday. So if there's anyone that can go for this, you know, for this Vayne pick, and there's anyone that can try and pop off with this Vayne, it is going to be this player.
Yeah, the unorthodox pick, that's what I was saying earlier. It's like, it's timing. Yes, it's an unorthodox pick, but it's not just anybody that's going onto it. It is the player timing that was able to get such a fantastic performance on the Ezreal. And it wasn't just Ezreal as well. I believe he played the Kaiser yesterday, right? And I'm sure he put in the work with that pick. I'm not too sure if it was them or if it was Baguettes that actually went with the Kaiser, but I know someone had a fantastic play with Kaiser.
Oh, that was Mumu. That was Mumu yesterday. He got the quadra kill in top lane. I remember that.
There we go.
That was Mumu. Yeah, it wasn't timing. But no, he still had a great performance yesterday anyway. And yeah,
I'm sure if he gave him Kaiser, he would do well.
Yeah, I mean, the timing is there. He's actually decided to go for Twin Guard as the 3rd item. So he really just wants the survivability. He's not going to have that much damage. He doesn't have Blade to the Ruin King, which is a huge surprise.
Yep.
You look how much HP is being built across the board here for International Jobcenter. Jax has 2 health items plus the boots. You have Heartsteel on Vi. You have Warmogs on Maokai. You would be doing so much more damage here on Vayne if you were building Blade of Ruin King. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going Blade of Ruin King as a 4th item.
Yeah.
But you're not completing your 4th item until like 20 minutes into this game. So it might just be a little bit too late.
Yeah, I mean, they're on the 2nd Drake here, and it looks like Jobcenter is able to take the 2nd Drake, so they're only 1 away for claiming that Drake soul, which is going to be the Ice Drake, which I believe is going to do some good for them, right? It's that explosion on hits as well that really helps with the Ice Drake, if it's still the same, but this time around, it's still Jobcenter in the lead with the gold. No matter how much Vayne farms up, they still just aren't able to maintain that difference into their favor.
And they're going to look to try and take control of the map right now. They can see the Jax is split pushing in the bot lane. The problem is no one can deal with this Jax split pushing.
Nope.
Vayne loses the 1v1. Akali can't defend a split push either. Who is defending a split push against this Jax? But it looks like there's a team fight that's actually happening towards the Baron pit. The fight's going to start on through the Cataclysm onto the mid laner. The Jace actually going to be able to secure the kill. But meanwhile, Jax is just pushing into the inhibitors. They're going to try and cancel the backs. They do cancel some of the backs on the side of Almighty Capybaras. They're going to try and counter engage. So with the Jax still in the base, this is a 4 versus 3. The Maokai looks like it might be going a little bit too far. And yes, the Galio gets taken down. And now the Jax is here to play. The Twin Guard has been stacked over by the Vayne. So the Vayne's going to be very, very difficult to kill. But she gets taken down. No more QSS for the Vayne. The Akali's trying to snipe it in the back line. She can't hit any of the damage that she needs to hit. The Jarvan is one auto attack away from being dead. Hey, heck it, let's just use Vi's ultimate instead. International Jobcenter they could probably try and end if they push the mini wave in bot lane, but they're gonna play it safe and they're gonna go towards the Baron.
Yeah, I think the Baron makes a little bit more of a point here because they can just claim it. They can then go back if they need to get a little bit more items in into their equipment, but I feel like if they was going to try and push it into the mid lane and try and finish it there, it could have been topsy-turvy for them, because by the time that they actually even got to the higher ground turret or even to the Nexus, I feel like Hans and Timing would be back up, and again, it would be another fight. Whereas the Baron Nash just secures them a little bit more gold, a little bit more a reason to go back to base as well.
Exactly that. I mean, as you mentioned, you can save their gold and there's no point risking it. I mean, they did have a minion wave in bot lane. There was no Nexus shield, so I thought there was probably a possibility that they could try and end it there, but again, it's very risky. As you mentioned, death timers are not that long at this time of the game, so it's going to be very difficult. Timing now back on this Vayne pick, trying to do as much damage as possible, but it's not going to do a lot of damage with the twin guard. Meanwhile, Jax is pushing up into the top lane. The scary thing now is that Jax now has Baron Nashor. This is not even the Elder. Oh, wait, is it the
yes, Elder Dragon?
We don't even get Dragon Soul this game. The Elder Drake's going down to below half HP, and the Jarvan secures the Elder Drake. Could this be the turnaround that Almighty Capybaras needs?
It could be. I mean, the minions are still there trying to work away at the higher ground turret there, and they're able to take it down as well. So down goes the Inhibi in the mid lane. So even though they got the Elder, they are still down Shin, but it is a 2-1 trade for Aces. So it did come out in their favor. It just depends on whether Jobcenter give them the time of day whilst they've got the Elder, or they decide to just keep stalling until the timer falls off.
I mean, I didn't even realize we were 18 minutes into the game already and it was Elder Drake. I thought it was just the third dragon and they were just going to deny souls. So it was actually pretty okay for the Jax to split push. But in the end, Jax split pushing was actually a detriment to International Jobcenter. It meant that they were in a 4 versus 5. They couldn't get into the dragon pit to secure the dragon. And that means that Elder Drake is now in the hands of Almighty Capybaras, and maybe they just have a chance. Blade of Rune King is finally completed for Vayne. Now she is actually a champion of some sort. She can actually start to do quite a bit of damage now.
Yeah, it looks like they might even go for the Guardian Angel as the last item there as well, right? Just give a bit of second wind if they do kind of make a mistake in their plays. They still have that second lifeline going through there, so they can come back and try and do a little bit more damage to the enemy team. But I feel like if Jobcenter have any kind of clue what's going on here, they want to fight from a distance, but it doesn't look like Shin's going to give them that alternative, but it is going to be the Maokai ultimate coming through. The damage is coming through right now. It's looking like Galio is pretty low. Down goes the Jarvan as well. Akali goes back in, claims the kill onto the Maokai, so it is going to be a 2-1 trade. The pain is coming through from this Vayne.
I mean, it's a really good counter engage, to be honest with you. Like, the engage from Almighty Capybaras was really, really deep. It was very, very scary overall. But the counter engage was huge. The shockwave from Jash did so much damage in the end. But the Vayne coming on in with the Elder Drake. You have to remember the Elder Drake is still on their hands for another 30 seconds. So they still have Elder Drake for quite some time, and they can use this to their advantage. Sorry, that's not the Elder Drake timer, that's the Baron timer. They still might have the Elder Drake for another few seconds, but because they still have that Elder Drake, Vayne was able to join the fight and do enough damage to at least try and trade a kill back.
Yeah, I feel like this is where the efforts of Kirkall was great in terms of the split push for Jax, because it meant that Morgana couldn't be in that team fight. Because if she weren't there, and well, if she was in the team fight, yes, it probably would have gone in the favor of Aces a little bit more. But the fact that she had to be away to kind of push away that lane, the minions into the Baron lane, meant that she had to be absent, or they would have lost their last inhibitor, which would have been again even more huge for the side of Jobcenter.
Exactly that. We just saw a flash, actually. There was a flash of some sort into the mid lane. I think the Orianna's getting completely caught out here. The Akali's trying to dive on in, but the Akali might be going a little bit too far underneath the tower. There's still a tower in this mid lane, and the Jarvan's even gone too deep as well.
Oh,
so it looks like Almighty Capybaras might be a little bit far behind, but this Vayne is still completely untouched. They're trying to jump in onto the Vayne, but she's completely unkillable. This Twin Guard is giving her so many stats that she's able to keep herself alive. She has the Guardian Angel. The utility, the slows from this Morgana makes it very, very difficult to try and shut down this Vayne and try and stop to engage onto the Vayne at the same time. The bot lane inhibitor does go down. The Vayne is all by herself in the top lane. This is the opportunity now. They go all in onto this Vayne. The Guardian Angel's been taken down. Timing has been completely caught, and the Demon King is dead.
I mean, it's definitely an ego boost, right? Knowing that the whole team had to be there to shut down Vayne. They couldn't have trickled in 1v1, because that would have just been that it would have been 1 kill, 2 kill, 3 kill, 4, and then they would have gone for the Baron Nashor and probably won first game. But right now, it is Jobcenter claiming the Baron Nashor for the second time in this game, almost at the 23-minute mark, Stu. I don't know what else makes this grand finals a greater grand finals.
It's absolutely crazy. This is the longest game of the day. Might even be the longest game of the weekend. We're on the second Elder Dragon. The second Baron has already been taken by International Jobcenter. The Demon King Vayne is dead. The Guardian Angel is down. You can see that Vayne has actually sold the Guardian Angel now. It's going to try and buy another item instead. It's going to be Collector. Oh boy, Kirk's in chat is going to be happy with that one. Collector being bought means that you could do a little bit of execution, so you're doing a little bit more damage, and that means that you could try and make a difference. But to be honest, I don't think Vayne's going to make any difference at all. The Baron buff minions are pushing in the mid lane. They're pushing in the bot lane as well. The laser's going to try and do enough damage here to the Nexus. They're just trying their best to take this top lane inhibitor. They don't want to go for the Elder Drake. They want to try and end the game right here, right now. They are taking quite a lot of damage though, so they need to be really careful. They can just go back here and try and get Elder Drake, but they're really trying their hardest to try and get as many inhibitors as possible. They only got 2 inhibitors down, so that means they're going to go back towards this Elder Drake and try and secure this, but they don't want to start it. They don't want to risk the 50-50 smite fight. Carlos is just going to go into the top lane here, and maybe this is the go button for Baron. The flash onto the Vayne. Carlos gets the solo kill onto the Vayne, uses the stasis, stays alive. Can he outplay the Akali as well at the same time? The dash comes on through. The T-Hex is ending the game with the minions. The T-Hex is on top. Oh, baby. International Jobcenter completely bait Almighty Capybaras around, and what an incredible end to this game. The T-Hex winning the game with the super minions.
Yeah, again, I feel like that was the only reason they could finish that one off, is because of that early game efforts to try and get those lanes into their favor on the side of Jobcenter, and exactly Kirkall doing that. It was 4-0-10. I mean, it's not like he was away too much from the team fights, because he got 10 assists as well, but he was able to not die a single time, even with Vayne being stacked up to the nines towards the end of that game, and even be able to just leap in there, get the counter-strike, use the zoners as well to just status and bait everybody on the side of Aces, whilst we just saw Nabil finish off the Nexus with the T-Hex. A beautiful chef's kiss at the end of that one.
25-minute game. What an absolute banger of a first game in this grand final.